Hi, I just wanted to show off my project I've been working on for the last couple of weeks, which is called LANCommander. The idea behind LANCommander is that it is a distribution platform for computer games, PC games, Windows games, on a local network, specifically geared at LAN parties. And I came up with this idea because I participate in a LAN party that has, a dozen or so people and a dozen or so machines, and it's always a pain making sure that everyone has the right version of the game with all the patches applied and all the mods applied and anything else that we want. So I wanted to come up with a way that was easier for us to install the games. And LAN Commander is basically built up of two parts. The first part is the backend web server. This is a project that was built in ASP.NET Core and can be hosted on, since it's .NET 6 and .NET Core, it can be hosted on Linux machines, Linux servers. It can also be hosted on Windows. I believe it can also be hosted on Mac if you really want to do that, but I don't know why, because we're talking about PC games. Um, so there are a couple features like icon extracting and stuff like that that I haven't really figured out on Linux yet because of some things, but we'll get into that. But you have this backend software where you can add all the games, stores all the metadata, stores the user accounts, and then you have the front end software. Now, when constructing the front end software, I figured why reinvent the wheel? There's a whole bunch of third-party launchers out there, open source launchers out there, and one that really struck my eye was Playnite. And Playnite is really cool because it allows you to build library extensions. Now, the ones that already exist for it integrate into things like GOG or Steam or Origin, and they pull in all of your libraries from all those different sources. I ended up making one that only works with LAN Commander. And you can see here, these are the games that have pulled in from LAN Commander. And these are ones that I can just go ahead and install from my server. So those are the two basic components. We're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive into the actual backend here so you can kind of see what's going on. Um, First of all, this is just the dashboard, so it shows, storage used so far. And then we have the actual games section. Now the games section is just a list of games that you have already added to the server. You can go ahead and add another one. We'll delete one and then re-add it to kind of show you what that process looks like. But here you can see all the different games that we have, who was modified by when it was released, some of the metadata in here. You can go and you can delete them, which will go through and delete any supporting files behind it too, so it will clear up space. If 13 here is 2 gigs, it'll free up the 2 gigs that the archives take up. Um, so yeah, I'm just going to show you one of the top populated games so you can kind of see what's going on here. I think a good one to probably look at is Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth 2, because it's more of a complex game in the way that it has to be installed and it requires a CD key and everything like that. So you can see here we have basic information like the title, what file the icon pulls from. This can be any exe or ICO file that has an icon embedded into it. And then description, release date, some of the developers, publishers, genres, tags. These all pull into Playnite, so you can see all those down here and the description here. And what that does is it lets you, kind of filter out these games a little bit more. Underneath that, we have actions. So actions are something that is kind of spawned out of Playnite's SDK and how they handle things. So an action is when you launch Steam and it asks you if you want to play multiplayer or single player, you can add multiple actions to Playnite, and I utilize that in LAN Commander by allowing you to add multiple actions, and you can designate them as primary actions where they'll pop up in a menu if there's multiple primary actions. It'll pop up in a menu asking which one you want to choose when you go to play the game, or you can just do a context menu action. So when you right click on the game, it'll pop up World Builder here, and um, uh, you can use that. You can also order these, you can remove them, you can add them, you can set the working directory, launch arguments, all that fun stuff. Under that, we have multiplayer modes. Uh, Multiplayer modes just designates how many players are available to play in a multiplayer game. Since this is geared at uh, LAN play, it's really useful to know, if you have 12 people, how many people can play, this game. Oh, it only supports 8. So that's why we put that in there. And then next section is keys. So LAN Commander will actually take CD keys, and you can distribute those keys and allocate those keys to clients that sign in and register and everything like that. Currently, the only way it's implemented is by MAC address, so basically by computer. Um, Down the line, at some point, I'll add functionality in order to claim it by user account. That way, somebody could boot up the game at home and log into your server if you have it hosted remotely, and they can have a CD key allocated to them. And then archives. Archives are just packages that the game is packaged into. They're just zip files with just the raw files in them. And any supporting files that you might need, like template profiles, or any other sort of template file that might exist. That's more of an advanced configuration of the game, and I might go over kind of how you would set that up in a separate video. But yeah, archives are just, it grabs the first one that it finds, it downloads it, and extracts it onto your computer. Scripts. Scripts are just that. They are scripts. We can go into one of these here and see that these are actually PowerShell scripts. And we use PowerShell mostly because, again, this is really only meant to be used on modern Windows computers. And PowerShell is a really, really fantastic runtime to scripting runtime to run scripts, because you can do things like um, insert into the registry. You can parse like the window, the display. If it's 1920 by 1080, you can put that into some of your registry keys and stuff like that, which I do for some games, but. Really, the basic idea is that it's fully featured scripting engine that's already existing on every machine, every Windows machine since 7, so we might as well use it. And you can just give it, you can have it require admin privileges. So if you're going to be messing with HKey local machine specifically, you'll probably need admin privs. You can give it a description. I usually like to use the description to say like what I'm doing in the script file, or like what the game might need in order to fully execute properly. And we have different types of scripts. Currently, the ones that are implemented are the first four. So install, uninstall, name change, and key change. Install is obvious. It runs after install. Same with uninstall. It runs after uninstall. It's if you want to do any cleanup or anything like that, that's where you would do that. Name change. So we have scripts, and I'll show you what one of these looks like in Battle for Middle-earth. Name change scripts are, I have a functionality built in the client that lets you change the name that you want to use for that game or for all games in your platform. So even if somebody registers an account with LANCommander, it won't necessarily use uh, the name that they've chosen, but they can change it to whatever they want. A lot of times with LAN parties, people like to change their names to something like Dingus or something like that, and this makes it easy for them to do without having to hunt down the specific options in the game. The name change script is also used on install. So when you install a game, it will change your name immediately, which I kind of like because it kind of personalizes the game for that person when they boot it up for the first time. Same thing, every script you can require admin privileges. Some games store the player name in registry, so that kind of makes sense. But this one here, all we're doing is reading the name from the arguments that are passed into the script. We're formatting it a little bit in the way that this specific game needs it, and then we are writing it to this ini file that exists in the user's app directory. Pretty basic script. And then key change is very similar. we have the first argument that's passed into a key change script is any sort of CD key that has been allocated to the user. And in this case, and in most Electronic Arts games from around probably, I want to say 2002 to 2006, 2007, the CD key before they went to digital distribution and overall, the CD key was stored in the registry, specifically under this ERGC key. So here what we do is we take the key, we take the hyphens out of it, and then we stuff it into the registry, and you've got your CD key. No, you don't have to go through and fumble through ISOs or CDs and like reinstall the game and change the key. That's kind of a thing of the past with all of this. So that's basically how a game is set up in LAN Commander. Now, one of the things that I think is really cool that I added is the ability to add a game and get the metadata from IGDB. So if I want to add like Need for Speed Underground, I could go and look that up, or I could hit that button. It'll find it here. It'll give me the release date. I can select this, and it'll pre-populate this data and all the tags and everything like that. And here's where I can go and get the actions. You can say play. It's probably like nfsu.exe. And if I wanted to give it a working directory, say it was hidden underneath something, I could say like installer, which will get expanded out into the full installation path of the game, and then game data, and then that'll be the working directory, if you know what that does. So I can hit save. It'll save it as a new game, and it'll throw me back to the edit screen. And then here's where I can go in and I can upload an archive, give it a version, choose the file, hit upload, and here's where you can start adding your scripts. So overall, it's a pretty flexible system in order to add the games that you want to add. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in the back end that I need to show, really. You have basic user information. That's broken right now. Settings edit. But you have basic information right now. This might expand into something else. I want to add the feature of kind of a save game cloud management. So when somebody quits a game, it automatically takes their game saves that you've defined the folder for or you've made a script for, and it will take those files and upload those to the server, package it up for them, and then they can come into the interface and download their save games or delete them. And then when they log into the next machine, when they start the game, it'll download the saves to their machine. And then you can also obviously just change your password. It's pretty simple. And then there is a settings page that I'll have to fix. I don't know why it's broken in this build, but the settings page doesn't really have much right now. I believe it just has the credentials that you can put in for the IGDB, so you can use that full metadata feature. So that's basically it for the admin side. I think it's pretty simple. I think it's pretty well laid out. Trying to find Need for Speed Underground. I'll delete that. Delete the game, and it's gone. Now, what I want to show you real quick is just kind of how this pulls in data. So I'm going to remove these from my Playnite library. So the Playnite extension, if we go to add-ons, you can see that LAN Commander has extension settings, and basically just two. One, making sure that you're authenticated. You can click the authenticated button if your token is expired and re-authenticate. It'll ask you to log in and supply the server URL. And then you can specify the install directory. And this is just the base path that the games get extracted to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to update the game library since I removed those. If I hit LANCommander here, it'll import games and it'll throw them at the bottom. So all those games that I removed, it'll add them and it'll scan them. It'll get all the metadata for them. It's pulled the icon, and you can kind of see that, it's correctly set all the information. And Playnite has the extended functionality. It's just the base version of Playnite where it pulls in things like cover art and backgrounds, which is really nice on my part because I didn't have to add that. But let's go over like installing a game. I think the first one I'm going to do is Call of Duty. This is Call of Duty 1 from was 2003. Yeah, look at that release date right there. And this also, my version includes United Offensive, which will show off kind of what the play actions do. So I can hit install, and it's going to download it. This is a 2 GB file, so this is transferring over a gigabit connection right now. I recommend that if you're on a LAN, you figure out how to team your NICs together. So if you have a bunch of people downloading the game at the same time, it's not saturating the network. But it's going to download it, extract it. It'll give you progress bars, a rough estimate of how far along it is. And then I have a script that runs in the background, an install script, and that's the window that you saw pop up just there. And now we can see that the installation folder is C Games Call of Duty. I can go ahead and hit play. It's going to ask me out of my actions which one I want to do. I'm going to do United Offensive Multiplayer, and it's going to start the game. Obviously, OBS is kind of failing right now, so it's cropped, but yeah. You'll notice also that it automatically set my player name to Krivo, which is just a test name I like to use. And it got that from Playnite up here. So what I can also do here is I can tell it to change my player name just for this game specifically. So I can say Sergeant Shadow. Why not? It'll run the script. Or run the game again. Go to multiplayer options. It's changed it to Sergeant Shadow. So it's pretty easy. That's all you really have to do. And you can change your name on a per game basis, or you can force it to apply to all games. I'm just going to make sure OBS is still running. Yes, it is. Okay, cool. And you can see some of the multiplayer features have pulled in as features down here. So you can go through and you can, filter games by where's feature. Like, oh, I have 4 players. I might want to try to play a smaller game. You can filter it down to that, which is kind of cool. I like. So yeah, that's the game installed. You kind of saw the actions that popped up when I hit play. It also, this is the installation folder here. So if I click on this, you can see all the files that it downloaded and extracted. You can see the change name script here. And you can see this will match what is in the back end. And it will also download a new name change script or CD key change script or install uninstall scripts. It'll download those every time you install the game, so it's not like you have to put it back into the archive or anything like that in order to get it extracted onto the system. So that's Call of Duty. I'm trying to think of another one that I have implemented really well right now. Probably, let's do Quake 3, because that's a pretty easy one. It's pretty small as well. Okay, it's installed, and now you'll notice that my name up here is still Krivo. So if I go play, I believe, if I go to multiplayer, no, where is it? It's under setup, player, Krivo, right there. Now also what I can do is if I click up here, or you also have a menu option, change player name, all games here. If I can click here, it'll ask me to change my player name. I would say Dr. Dalek. Oh, that's not right. Let's try test. Okay, that's broken. So I'll have to fix that in the actual final build. But the general idea is you can hit that. It'll ask you to change your name, and then it'll find any game that's installed that has that name change script, and it'll run it for each game, and it'll run it as an admin if it needs to, and it'll change the name across all the games for you. So that's kind of the basics of Lan Commander. You can see I have all these games. I have most of these games implemented with name change scripts at least. Some of them require more advanced scripts where we'll add registry keys and that sort of thing. But overall, that's kind of the process. I'm hoping at some point down the line to open up like a wiki so people can document some scripts that they might have used. Um, Otherwise, I mean, if you know PowerShell, all this stuff is pretty easy. I definitely like on the documentation for LAN Commander, I'm going to add things like, oh, this is like kind of the best way to change a registry key, or this is the best way to um, uh, change the contents in a file using regex, that sort of thing. And then there's also, since a lot of games share the same engine, like, Quake 3 and Call of Duty and let's say Jedi Academy and Jedi Outcast, they all are based off the same, what is it, idTech 3 engine that Quake 3, famously was built on. So a lot of that stuff, like the configs, are really kind of the same. So changing the name is very easy. Changing the name on something like Unreal Tournament is very easy. But then a game like Recoil, it stores it in binary data in the registry. So I have a script built around that. So, but that's basically it for LAN Commander. It's a pretty full-featured system right now. I'm actually going to test it in full force in a couple days at a LAN party, and hopefully it holds up. So, um, yeah, that's basically it. Let me know what you think, and I'm gonna keep working on it until it's kind of more done. If you have any features you want to add, check out the GitHub. I'll put that in the link in the description. Um, but otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.